Hi guys, Lee Anderson and his GB News show just becomes more and more bizarre. This week he appeared in what seemed to be a socially distanced nursing home where he was taking questions from the residents. Now he was joined by Steve Tuckwell. He's the new MP for Boris Johnson's old constituency of Uxbridge. He's the guy who ran on an anti-ULEZ ticket. Anyway, they were talking about something that Lee Anderson loves, but doesn't understand. Asylum seekers. Have a listen to this.
Next question is from a gentleman called Navtam.
Lee, the asylum seekers are not willing to board these Bibby barge. Provided all standards are met, do you think they should accept these accommodation gracefully?
Steve, it's a great question. I think I was asked this last week, actually, a similar sort of question to this. The Bibby barge, I've looked at it and I've seen the pictures online. Looks reasonable to me. You know, do you think they should get a second chance?
Well, I think if it's good enough for hard-working professional oil rig workers, then I think it's good enough for immigrants to be housed on.
You see,
God, one of the issues is that it's overcrowded. It would be overcrowded if it was actually being used. But the main point here is they found a deadly bacteria on board. How is that acceptable?
Back in February, I visited Calais. I went to see the migrants in the camps in Calais, and they were living in squalor, if I'm honest with you. They were living in one-man tents. They were living in little bivouacs. They were on pallets. They were filthy. There was no sanitation. You know, it was freezing cold. The conditions are absolutely appalling. Yet we see some of these illegal migrants, and I don't always blame the illegal migrants. I think some...
They're not illegal migrants. They're asylum seekers, and it's not illegal to claim asylum in Britain. We already know that. But of course, he has to push this narrative that these people are illegal migrants. No, they're not.
Sometimes it's the lefty lawyers, it's the human rights campaigners, it's the charities that are telling these migrants that this accommodation isn't up to scratch. And I see them moaning about things like Wi-Fi. The Care for Calais was complaining last week about they only had one bus every hour. You know, there's some people in my constituency would love a bus every hour to the next village and go and see the GP.
You're supposed to represent your constituents. If they don't have more than one bus an hour, why aren't you doing something about it? You're the deputy leader of the Conservative Party. You have the ear of government. Why aren't you doing something about that? You don't turn around and say, you know, wouldn't it be great if my constituents had something better? Can you imagine his constituents watching this going, yeah, you know, if we had something, but we should have better services. Wouldn't it be great if we had, you know, Lee Anderson oh, wait a minute, he is in government in a sense. His party's in government and he's complaining about a lack of bus services. Who is he to complain to? This is ridiculous.
So, I don't know, Steve, what do you think? Do you think they're being coached?
No, again, I think, you know, Labour have put blockers in front of the government in every step of the way in dealing with illegal immigration. And
how can the Labour Party put blockers? The Labour Party are not in power. Your party is in power. I know Steve is just new, but surely he has some understanding of how Parliament works. The Conservatives have a majority, not the Labour Party. And it's really interesting how so many of these Tories, even the Prime Minister himself at sometimes, acts as if they're in the opposition. They're not actually in government. And say, oh, the Labour Party should do this, or the Labour Party should do that. The Labour Party are not in power. You are. Maybe Steve doesn't understand that.
I think I'll come back to my main point. You know, if this barge is good enough for really professional, you know, high quality oil rig workers, then it must be good enough for migrants to be accommodated on.
Yeah. Navtam, some of these lefty lawyers, these do-gooders, these human rights campaigners, these charity bosses, do you think they should step up to the plate and start and house some of these illegal migrants?
Well,
this is the sort of response you hear from the far right. Well, you know, if these lefty lawyers or these do-gooders or these lefties in general care so much about asylum seekers, why don't they house them themselves? And this is a ridiculous position to take. Many people couldn't host people in their homes because they don't have the space, but also they don't have the resources. Many people arriving from war-torn countries or claiming asylum have suffered some sort of trauma, and they need support. They need a normal routine to be living in. Normal people or regular people in Britain can't provide that. They don't have the professional ability to provide these types of services. It's the responsibility of the state. I know the Tories like to offload responsibility onto others, but it's a ridiculous position to take.
The biggest one is, of course, the leader of the opposition. You know what he has done in past. I think, you know, if the board meets all the requirements, I think it's a superb accommodation, and they should really gracefully accept it. This country is very welcoming. I came here in '71, and I was welcomed, and today I'm here flourishing. And I think all of them would be appreciative that, you know, we are a welcoming society.
Lee Anderson told them to F off back to France. You're speaking to Lee Anderson there now, and you're saying, yeah, we're a very welcoming society. I don't know where this guy is originally from, but he said he arrived in 1971. He probably couldn't get in today under the new rules. So surely he should be critical of the Conservative Party, not supportive. I don't know if he's supportive. His question wasn't that clear, or I didn't understand it fully. But it is a sort of, we've seen people with Suella Braverman, who, you know, her family came under conditions that her family wouldn't be able to arrive in today. But this is Lee Anderson, you know, loves the issue of immigration, but doesn't really understand it. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.